Hello, welcome to another episode of Inside the Huddle. Today is Monday, May 19th. This is episode 63 of the Inside the Huddle podcast. Thank you, as always, for joining us. Make sure to please like and subscribe. Another week down in the NFL offseason, another week closer. Got some OTA starting up this week. Of course, mandatory minicamp in a couple weeks as well. So things really starting to ramp up as we get closer and closer to June, July, and the summer. And we've got a schedule, finally. Got a schedule. Always a exciting time to get the schedule released, break it down, see every single game, prime time, strongest schedule, weakest schedules. We'll break that all down in today's podcast. Of course, we'll discuss the Jets and the Cowboys and their 17-game path as well. DiMari, lots to discuss. How's it going, man?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Like you said, we are ramping back up. Excited that the schedule came out. Now I can see which game I would go to in person and probably stressed out about live there. Probably can say the same for you. You might catch a game or two, but other than that, besides the schedule, yeah, OTAs, minicamp coming up. Been a pretty eventful week, at least out in San Francisco, that we're going to get
Yeah.
into, and some more news coming out of San Fran about 15, 20 minutes ago. So for now, yeah, let's get into the schedule and enjoy it while we can. Because once the season actually starts and we probably revisit this, we're going to see how accurate we were with our respective teams.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned San Fran, of course, big contract extension. Purdy, Fred Warner becomes NFL's highest paid linebacker. Another move that just shows that Robert Saleh is back over there. They have done so much defensive side of the football since he's taken back over as the defensive coordinator. So another one of those moves there. But yeah, we'll dive into the schedule here, break it all down. Always an exciting time whenever the schedule gets released. Again, just kind of another reminder that we're getting a little bit closer here. So we'll start here with the Jets and the Cowboys schedules. We'll start with the Cowboys since they actually open up the 2025 season. Them and the Eagles in Philly, Super Bowl champions, division rivalry game. This will be a lot of fun. Should be some fireworks right away. So before I guess we kind of break it down game by game, what was just your overall thoughts on the Cowboys schedule and even to that just opening game, Eagles, Cowboys doesn't get much better than that to open up the year.
I mean, I know it might not say as far as what the experts think, but I think this is one of the toughest schedules all in football. I mean, we spent some time talking about the AFC West, so you get that division, of course. You also get
Yeah.
the NFC North, which had three playoff teams last year. One of those teams, Chicago, struggled, but we expect to be a lot better this year. Commanders obviously good now and playing the Super Bowl champs twice. So, it's a few of these games I'm looking at. There's only two, which you can say probably say the Giants. Sorry to say this, probably say the Jets, or like just for sure wins that you are guaranteed to at least take one. But even like a Carolina on the schedule, um, it's pretty tough. And sky's kind of the limit for this team. So we might either be looking at like a 12-5, 11-6, and a good year and a return to the playoffs, or this team will be a disappointment and not look as good as they should. So yeah, I kind of know what to expect with this schedule and this team this year.
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of like a sneaky type of difficult schedule that maybe with just looking at it first glance doesn't seem crazy difficult. But yeah, you make a good point. If teams like Chicago and Carolina improve, both games are on the road. Those will both be, difficult matchups. Luckily, you don't play New Orleans in week 2 this year, so you do avoid that. Instead, you'll get Russell Wilson and the Giants or whoever's out there under center. Probably will be Russ at that point, although we'll dive into the Giants schedule soon because that is a complete gauntlet for them. But yeah, even coming out of your bye week, you'll have Vegas on the road. Both expect them to be improved. Then Philly again, KC, Detroit. So even second half, you don't get much of a break. And you make a good point with Dallas. I feel like, and we've both said this a lot, we've talked a lot about them. It's so, I don't think there's going to be any in between with the Cowboys. I think it's either going to be 11, 12 wins or the bottom kind of falls out and it's 5, 6 wins. And you're looking at a probably, I mean, who knows, maybe a one and done for Schottenheimer, however all that plays out. But you're entering another offseason with a ton of questions around the roster, coaching staff, all that stuff. So I feel like kind of no in between there, especially if you have a healthy Dak. There's really no excuse at this point. You add Pickens, of course, to the mix, another weapon for him. Yeah, and the Philly game right off the bat is a big challenge, big test, right? Super Bowl champions. So yeah, I agree. It's not an easy schedule, but if this is a Cowboys team that on paper, if Dak plays well, like if Dak's able to stay healthy and Pickens, we talked about the trade last week, if he's able to, you know, do his job and not create any drama and not be that diva and all that stuff, if he's able to just play the role of a number 2 receiver, this should be a team that can beat Chicago and can beat Arizona and should be able to beat Carolina and probably even can beat Vegas and maybe split with Washington, right? And who knows, maybe beat Philly if they're on that trajectory of 11, 12 wins, split with Philly, if that makes sense. So the Cowboys are kind of a 50-50. Like you can look at the Cowboys schedule and look at it as it's tough, but you can also look at it and say teams like the Jets, teams like the Panthers, teams like the Cardinals are all going to look at the Cowboys on their schedule, and say those are tough matchups for them as well. So it'll be interesting. I guess what was your thoughts on opening with Philly? Are you happy about that? Or you would have rathered a Giants week 1 game, a little bit easier for Schottenheimer to settle in, a little bit easier for George Pickens, CeeDee Lamb, the new look Cowboys offense to settle in, or you like the fact that you're going in right away at the link, Philly, Super Bowl champions? What are your thoughts on that matchup to open things up?
I love it. You want to be the best in the East, and you have to
Yeah.
beat the beast of the East, which happened to be Philly last year. And we know there's not been a back-to-back division winner, so if that's the same case, Philly doesn't win it this year. But no, there's no point going into a week 1 and getting like a Jets team or a Giants team. Sorry to keep slandering, your New York Jets, but you don't want to go into week 1 with some high hopes. Well, not even high hopes, but you go in and they look great, and you're just like, okay, well, here we go. They're about to look good. Everything is flowing. Just for them to turn around and look awful in week 3. In this case, would be Chicago, and they look so good in week 1. Kind of say week 2 is okay. They pull out a win. Week 3, the offense looks terrible. So, for my sake, I mean, what a better way to go into Philly and hot take, this is my prediction. Go into Philly and beat them on ring ceremony night, which I think they will do. Um, I do still think Philly's gonna be good, but
Yeah.
I've seen what the team has looked like when healthy and all type of things. I think they bounce back, but I think definitely going to Philly to kind of open it up. Ring ceremony night, Philly's going to be hype, ready to play, kind of all the theatrics that go into it. What a way to go out and beat them and kind of prove like, hey, we might actually be back. So yeah, I think I love it.
Yeah. And you make a good point about going into Philly and beating them. I mean, the last 2 years we've seen with Kansas City, the opening night game, Lions beat them in 2023. Nobody really saw that one coming. They beat them by 1. And then last year we are Isaiah Likely's foot being a little bit smaller away from that game being a different different outcome. So it's definitely possible to go in and beat the defending Super Bowl champions. And again, if this is a Cowboys team that lives up to the potential that they have on paper with some of these names and Dak Prescott back in the fold, of course, healthy, playing at an MVP level, then they should be able to be a team that can potentially win the division, beat Philly opening night, and do some damage. Um, I guess what's like a the outside of I guess the divisional games. Are there any games on this schedule that you really are looking forward to? I think that Denver game on the road in Denver it's going to be a good one. I think. Um, you mentioned the AFC West, Denver. I still think a lot of people are sleeping on Denver, and they're going to be big time threat. I still think this year, very much back into the mix. Should be better in some ways if Bo Nix takes a second year jump. You get the Thanksgiving game against Kansas City. So that'll be, of course, fun. Kansas City plays on every single holiday known to man at this point.
Yeah.
And man, I mean, the damn Cowboys get the Christmas Day game as well. So, I believe what you guys maxed out, I think, on primetime games as well.
I think we're at 6. Yeah, I believe it's 6.
Yeah. Get the
Well,
holidays. Yeah.
if I had to pick 2, I mean, I'm looking forward to what is that week 4 against Green Bay, I mean, since I can remember, I don't remember the last time they have beat Green Bay, whether that's at home or in
Mhm.
Lambeau. So I'm thinking that's one. Even though going through the schedule, I still have that as a loss. Kind of crazy that I'm looking forward to it, but just that one, I can't wait to watch Matthew Golden absolutely torch us for passing on him after him being linked to Dallas and
Yep.
possibly taking him at 12. So that's one. And yeah, you just mentioned the other one with being Kansas City. Kind of funny. My dad's birthday is in November. Well, the 25th of November. Obviously, Thanksgiving being on the 27th. So he wants to go to the Chiefs game this year. I said, hey, well, you want to ruin your birthday? That's what we're going to do. So
Ruin your
Kansas City is
birthday and
another one because
Thanksgiving.
basically just 2-1, just eat Whataburger on Thanksgiving and watch us lose to the Chiefs. But again, it's kind of the same thing with Philly. You want to be the beast of the East. In this case, you want to take down the top dog in the AFC, and what a way to do it on Thanksgiving. So these are the type of teams you have to beat in order to be considered the real deal. And what we have seen from in the last 2 years, including the last three that they did make the playoffs, where there's no consistency when it comes to beating the good teams. So it
Yeah.
doesn't matter if you beat the Raiders, you beat the Cardinals. That's great. Go beat Kansas City on Thanksgiving. Go beat Washington on Christmas. Go beat Philly on ring ceremony night. So those are the type of
Yep.
games that's really going to determine what kind of football team this is. So yeah, definitely those two just to get that bad taste of Green Bay out in their mouth. And I mean, who doesn't want to beat the Chiefs, right? So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Get a chance, get a crack at beating both teams in the Super Bowl last year. I definitely know you've been scarred by Green Bay a lot, going back to even just the playoffs. So that's certainly a revenge opportunity from a Green Bay perspective. And just from the Packers in general, you look at the last, 2023, what they started real poorly. They were three? I think they were 3-6 at one point. And even last year, I think they started 2-2, I think it was. I remember they had that loss in Minnesota. They beat Philly actually in Brazil. Or no, they lost to Philly rather in Brazil. So even the Packers have been a team here. Now last year they did start out 6-3, but they were 2-2. Like Packers have been a team the last 2 years that haven't necessarily gotten off to like really quick starts. Like the 2023 they were 3-6. Last year they were 2-2 coming out of week 4, and they get them week 4 here. So potentially from a Dallas perspective, you're getting Green Bay at the right time because they've kind of hit a stride later in the season. I mean, last year, kind of middle of the year, because then late in the season, you had the Love injury,
Yeah.
and lost a couple games, dropped a couple. So we'll see early in the year there. It's funny. I was not, and obviously we knew they were on the schedule, but it's funny to see Cowboys traveling to the Jets because usually it's once every 4 years that happens when the AFC East plays the NFC East. But it's funny how Dallas actually plays an AFC East team. Usually it's not the case. As far as I can remember, like once every year, because I know they played them in 2015, the Jets Cowboys in Dallas, and in 2019, the Darnold post mono game where he lit it up, and then had the ghost game the next week. And then the Jets were in Dallas, 2023, the week after Rodgers tore his Achilles. So usually it's every 4 years.
20 actually, yeah, that's actually the last Cowboys game I went to in Dallas was the Jets one. Yeah, after Rodgers, Zach played that game.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Garrett
usually it
Wilson
is every
touchdown. That was
4.
it.
Yeah, the one I had Garrett Wilson on my fantasy team, so that was great. Kind of seeing seeing his, I think it was like 62-yard catch and
Yeah.
run, which was great. But
That was one of the most
yeah,
depressing football games I've ever watched
I
because there
can't
was
say the
just no hope
same.
afterwards. Yeah, obviously. Yeah.
Can't say the same. But you can, I mean, not gonna get off topic, but you can just definitely feel there was no life in that stadium. Everyone expected
Mhm.
Rodgers that week.
Yeah.
It was not the same with Zach being a starter. It was
Yeah.
bad.
And I thought about actually going out to Dallas too for that game because Dallas awesome stadium. I've been there before. AT&T Stadium's awesome. It's
Yeah.
Jerry's World, everything over there. It's really cool. But glad I didn't, obviously. And there was so many Jet fans that made that trip that year, and they even different fans too that made the trip out to Vegas that year, assuming right Rodgers was playing all that stuff. And if you made all those trips, you saw the Jets score a couple touchdowns. That's about it, and walk away with a ton of losses. So you certainly didn't get much return on your investment if you were a Jet fan going to those games. But yeah, that was definitely interesting. So you guys are loaded up though, like back end, early start, a lot of road games. Back end, much more home cooking, like from week 12 to week 16. What you get 4 of those 5 are home games to start the season. I think pre-bye week, you have 6 road games, I think it is. And that's even 5. Maybe it's 5 and 4, but NFC only gets 8 home games this year, 1 less than AFC that rotates, of course, every single year. So I guess what would be your May way too early schedule released record prediction for the Cowboys?
Honestly, right now I have them at 12-5, and it might sound crazy for anyone that's kind of looking like, oh, well, what did the Dallas team do last year? This Dallas team had 3 straight years of 12 wins before last year, the Prescott injury and the defense being statistically bad. So yeah, I got them at 12-5. I mean, it might sound crazy, but I have them winning some games that you probably don't think so, which is Philly on the road, and jokingly said Kansas City, but I actually have them beating Kansas City on Thanksgiving, but then I had them losing to like a Chicago team in week 3 that they probably should beat, and a Commanders team that first week. So I'm gonna say 12-5, maybe 11-6. I can see them dropping to a trap game like the Raiders that we've talked about, who might be pretty decent. But if I had to kind of say floor and ceiling, I mean floor being probably 9-8. They shouldn't go no worse than 9-8. Ceiling being 12-5.
Yeah, I would say ceiling definitely 12-5. I probably view the floor maybe just a little bit lower. And that's like if they lose a lot of these toss-up games and coaching wise, they're not very good and the whole pick and sting doesn't work out. But I see them 11-6. That's where I'll go here. I think they'll take care of most of these games personally. Like Chicago, they should beat them. They should be able to beat Carolina. Even those 2 teams are improved. Dallas should be able to beat them. They still have the quarterback advantage if he's healthy in both those games. Even Arizona, that's a game Monday night at home. You should be able to beat them. Like Denver, it will be tough, but maybe that's one of the games you lose. But then, like the Chargers at home, definitely winnable in terms of like the expectation of what this Cowboys team should be. They should be able to win a lot of those toss-up games, even Vegas. That is coming off the bye week as well. So, I think I'll go 11-6 there for Dallas and win a division, maybe. See what happens. All right, let's move on to the Jets schedule. I will not have 11 wins for the Jets. Want to make that clear. I don't think either of us will have 11 wins for the Jets. I just first glance at the Jets schedule, I think it's a little bit harder than I think maybe I think a lot of other people expected. I think it's very front-loaded schedule in terms of the first 8 weeks are pretty difficult, but I think the last 9 games or that's the second half of the season after their week 9 bye, I think is there much more room for this team to pick up some wins. And that's why I think the biggest thing for them is then you got to weather this early storm. You get Pittsburgh, Buffalo back-to-back at home, then Tampa, Miami, in Florida, then Dallas, Denver, Carolina, Cincinnati. Right? You look at those games, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, Tampa, Denver, all playoff last year. You expect Dallas and Cincy to be right back into the mix. So you're talking about potentially 6 playoff teams. Miami, I think, is plateauing, but it's still a road game, Monday Night Football against a division rival, so it won't be easy. The Jets also haven't gone into Miami and beaten the Dolphins since Geno Smith's perfect passer rating game in 2014, Rex Ryan's last game as head coach. So that was ancient. I'm pretty sure they were still building the pyramids the last time that happened. They beat them in Miami. So it's been a while. So I'm not chalking that up as a win. I think they could split against Miami, probably beat them at home. Carolina's beatable. Denver will be in London. Those games are always kind of strange. So, and Pittsburgh, I think it all depends. Like, they're going to come out prepared. They're going to come out ready. They're well coached. But is Rodgers under center? Is it not Rodgers? I'm not surprised Pittsburgh's their opening game. I think if Rodgers would have given the Steelers an answer and he would have signed there by now, I think 100% that's probably a prime time or the 4 o'clock like prime game on 4 o'clock, whether it's Fox's America's Game of the Week ever. But since Rodgers hasn't officially signed, the NFL is not going to want to see Will Howard or Mason Rudolph against Justin Fields in prime time. That's not a good way to start the season. The storyline's just not the same. So that's my thoughts on the first 8 weeks. Second half, it's much more favorable, in my opinion. You get Cleveland, you get Jacksonville, New Orleans, you get New England twice. Atlanta, we don't really know what they're going to be. Even Jacksonville, who knows? Get Buffalo last week of the season on the road. There's a good chance they're sitting their starters that game. I know that's looking way down the road, but there's going to be a chance there in the second half for the Jets to really pick up some wins. So what was your thoughts on this schedule?
I think I'm right on board with you. I mean, that first half, outside of we don't know what we don't know what Pittsburgh is going to be like you said.
Yep.
And we think Carolina is going to be a lot better. That first half is kind of brutal. Like it might not really show it in terms of just playoff teams, but we know about Tampa. How good would Tampa be this year with Liam Cohen obviously not being there? We don't know, but they still got the same weapons they got last year. Buffalo, of course, you struggled in Miami. Dallas is going to be better. We know what Denver is. Like that first half is extremely brutal. I don't think it's being talked about enough. But yeah, that second half a lot more bearable. I mean, outside of Baltimore, sounds crazy. This might be reaching, but outside of Baltimore, I don't see a team that you can for sure, chalk it up as a loss for the Jets. I don't. You get Miami at home, Jacksonville. We don't think it's going to be. We've never been a firm believer in Jacksonville and Trevor Lawrence. So respectfully, the Saints know,
Mac
and
might
if you're
be under center again at that point.
And, I mean, we're not trusting Jacksonville. I'm not even going to spend my time on Jacksonville.
I don't even think. I think he's in right now. He's not even in Jacksonville. Mac Jones, but get the point.
If they can weather that storm at the bye week and come out with 4 wins up until the bye week, it's not that crazy to maybe think they can have a nice little stretch after the bye again. After Baltimore, you look at the rest of that schedule, you're just not really concerned. You said Buffalo probably rest their stars, which we both agree there. So I know for your sake, at least I'm saying I have them at 7-10. So some of these games, I'm kind of just like, it's the Jets. Respectfully, they'll find a way to mess it up and lose probably to New England, where they probably shouldn't lose on Thursday night. But I mean, if this Jets team can put a few wins together, get some good Justin Fields football, it's no reason they don't win 10 games. I think that is my ceiling for the Jets, 10-7.
Yeah, I agree. I have them at 7-10 as well right now. I always call it though the training camp booth. Like once training camp's over and we get a before the season, I'll probably talk myself into 8 wins. But right now though, 7 wins. I agree, and I like your point because I was going to bring this up as well. If they can come out of the bye week or go into the bye week at 4-4 or even 3-5, that's where they can make a move towards making a playoff push. Like if you want to win 9-10 games, if you can go into the bye week at 3-5 or 4-4 out of that first 8 games, you put yourself in a good position. Because like you said, outside of Baltimore, everybody on that second half is beatable. And look, every single week, everybody can be beat. But like a realistic beatable like chances, right? Beating the Bills week 2, while the Jets have played the Bills close at home over the last couple years, and the defense has been able to slow Josh Allen down at MetLife Stadium. They have had success. They haven't always won, but they've kept the games close. It's the Bills. That's not an easy game at all. Like Cincinnati on the road, I don't like that at all. The offense, that air raid attack, those weapons, just the AFC North in general is tough to beat, especially when you're going on the road. As a matter of fact, I think the Jets, and I know they rotate because the last time the Jets were on the road in Pittsburgh and then on the road in Cleveland, and they got Cincy and Baltimore at home. But out of the 4 AFC North teams, the 2 teams I would not want to play on the road is probably Cincy and Baltimore. With those offenses on the road, not want it. What do the Jets have? They got to face both those teams.
Both of them.
Yeah. So
Both of
it's
them.
certainly difficult. They get the 2 best AFC North teams on the road. But yeah, you can come out of that stretch 3-5, 4-4. Realistically, let's say 3-5. I think 4 is maybe a little too optimistic. But 3-5, you get Cleveland. You should be able to beat even New England. I know they've improved, but that's still 2 winnable games against New England, right? And then you get Atlanta, who's a complete unknown. Miami at home. Like I said, I think they split against Miami. I think they lose that. I think Miami wins at home. Jets win at home. New Orleans, neither of us believe in them. We crushed them last week, right? Jacksonville, we talked about it. So there's a realistic chance they're even Buffalo last week of the season. And a lot can happen. And I always say this. Maybe what right now in May might look like a winnable game when the season comes around looks a lot more difficult. That happened to the Jets back in 2022. I always say it. The early stretch for the Jets seemed like the gauntlet, but it turned out that late in that season, those were the real difficult games. Like Seattle seemed like a winnable game. Jacksonville, Detroit that year, those all seemed very winnable. And then sure enough, they were a lot more tougher. So who knows? Maybe this year, late in the season, the Jets find themselves where Michael Penix in Atlanta is a lot better than we all thought. But right now, those games on paper seem winnable. So that's where you can open up the door for a 9-10 win wild card. But at the very least, I think you come away from this Jets season, and I could see the Jets having a 2022 type Lions season where, if you remember, the Lions 2022, remember they started 2-6, and then they went, what was it? 7-1, was it? Or 7-2 the rest of the way when they finished 9-8, just missed out. Like, I could see that being the case for the Jets, where they start at worst, let's say 2-6, but the second half of the season, they come out and play really good football. And down the stretch, they put themselves in a spot to be in the hunt. They just miss out, but it provides optimism. Glenn, of course, was on that Lions team. That was the way Dan Campbell, that team really started to take off. The next year, of course, got to the title game. Last year, while they fell short, went 15-2. We know where the Lions are right now. So I could see a type of season like that for the Jets, where start slow a little bit. Even if they start 3-5 and then win some games on the back end, provide some hope, maybe get to that 8 wins, maybe win 9, but just miss out, but have optimism going to the offseason. I think that's the biggest thing. And as always, there's always context. Like, if they're competitive, that's huge too. Like, if they're losing games, but they're competitive and they're close and they're on the road in Baltimore playing the Ravens and Lamar Jackson down to the wire, and they're playing Cincy down to the wire, then, you kind of, it is what it is, right?
Here's a question. So you mentioned, kind of the Lions archetype of thing, struggle in the first half, and you mentioned 2-6. They are 2-6 after the bye. Is Justin Fields still the quarterback going into Week 10 against Cleveland? Is he still starting Week 10 going into Cleveland, or do you think there's a change and hopefully the backup kind of come in and, tally up some wins?
Yeah. Look, 2-6 to me is worst case. I think ideally for the Jets, like Aaron Glenn too, you got to get to the bye week at least 3-5, in my opinion. 2-6 is ugly. If you can 3-5, you can at least talk yourself into a second half comeback. But I think it's Fields because they got really nobody to turn to. If they would have drafted somebody, maybe, but I mean, who are you going to turn to? Tyrod, probably. It'd be Tyrod that you turn to. You don't need to see anything out of Tyrod. This is Fields' team. He's got the keys, and I think they want to see. You got to see what you have in them. Like, if this team wins, if they're 2-6, it's probably on the way of Fields not being back here. But I think Fields is out there in that scenario. And I don't really, I'd probably be more surprised if they sat him down. If they drafted somebody, then I would understand. But they've given the keys to Fields. They're optimistic in Fields, like he's their guy. They're going to give him every shot. And we'll see. I mean, most likely, if in order for Fields to get back, this team's probably got to be a 9-10 win team because that means Fields really elevated his game. If they're a 7-win team, that probably means Fields was kind of Fields, So we'll see. But look, there is a path. Like Pittsburgh's winnable. I actually think they win that game against Pittsburgh. I do. Carolina's winnable as well. And find a way to win one of Miami, Tampa, like Denver. I think you can find a way to pull out one of those wins.
Miami they probably can beat Dallas too. I mean,
Dallas,
if this was
at home.
If this was 21, 22, 23 Dallas, then you're probably like, okay, I don't know, but I mean, you're only good as the year that you had before.
Yeah.
So right now, Dallas is not a shoe-in for a win against the Jets. They can go to Dallas and beat them.
And even that too, like also like, and I think there's always going to be growing pains, but Schottenheimer as well. If there was a time to get Dallas it'd be early in the season when he's potentially going through some growing pains. That's the same for the Jets as well. Aaron Glenn, first-time coach. If there's a time to get him, it'd be early in the year where some of these first-time coaches will be going through some growing pains, figuring things out before they get more comfortable as the season goes on. But yeah, and look, I'll say this. Like the Jets' most difficult games, they get them, outside of Cincy and Baltimore, they get a lot of these at home. Like Dallas will be at home. Buffalo, obviously they'll split. They'll be at home. Denver will be in London, so it's kind of neutral. And then, you get, Tampa will be on the road, but even Carolina will be at home if they're improved. So they do get that. I would have liked to get Denver at home. I would have preferred the London game be up against a little bit of a worse team, but it is what it is. We got Denver at home last year and it didn't work. So all I can ask for is please, that Denver game, please be a different result. Like, even if they don't win that game, don't let that game crash your season. Because last year, the Denver game sunk the Jets season for whatever reason. Greg Zuerlein missed that kick. They lost that game, and something happened from that point onward where it crashed the Jets season. So let's not have that happen this time. And can the Jets finally win in London? They haven't won in London since 2015. Again, pyramids were still being built the last time the Jets won a game in London. So, anyway, 7-10. I think that's both of us. 10-7 ceiling.
10-7 ceiling, 7-10 floor. It's no way you go worse than 7-10.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I mean, we could probably find 5 wins on the back end of the schedule, and then if they could find a way to chalk up a win or 2 in the front, that's 7 right there. So I agree. And and I would say this too, like easiest games, Saints, Falcons, Browns. So you win those 3, let's say. Toss up Steelers, home against Dolphins, road Jacksonville, home away against Patriots, Panthers. I think those are all toss ups. So let's say you find a way to win 3 toss up games and then you win one of your tough games. That's 7 right there. And I'll say this as well. I'm so happy. 13 1:00 games for this year. So happy about that. The days of primetime games are over. Only 2 primetime games, 3 standalone games, plus the London game. So finally, I'm nothing better in my opinion than a 1:00 Sunday game. And we're back to that. So anyway, all right, let's get to some of our top primetime games. Then we'll get to some of the strongest, weakest schedules. What are some of your top games you're looking forward to?
I'm gonna go with one that kind of I feel like no one has talked about too much, but I'm excited for it. Commanders and Chiefs on Monday night in Week 8. The Commanders is such a tricky team for me because I guess recency bias is important, but it's no way the Commanders are worse than what they were last year, right? So this could be an absolute bummer, and the Commanders are terrible, and now we regret watching this. Or this could be a Commanders team that's going to be a lot better this year than they were last. Obviously, going to Kansas City, that will be fun. But I mean, I just never thought the day would come where we are looking forward to watching Washington on prime time. But I am. I want to see Jaden Daniels in year two. How good they're just going to be. How Debo elevates that offense. Yeah, I'm excited to watch the commies this year.
Yeah.
Surprisingly.
Trying to find the worst Thursday night game I can find and jokingly say it's one of my top games. But no, I agree with that. Another top game that I'll go with here. I'll go week 3, Monday night, potential Super Bowl preview, Lions Ravens in Baltimore. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. Again, potential Super Bowl preview. We've talked about it. Lions is a team that coming off a 15-2 season. Ravens team coming off of another tough playoff exit with, losing to Buffalo. And Baltimore just in general, their schedule, and I know we'll get into it, they got some tough games early on. Like they got Buffalo on the road to open up the season, then Cleveland, which is definitely beatable. Then Detroit, Kansas City, Houston, Rams. So they have some tough teams. Baltimore's a great team as well. But this was a team last year, the Ravens, that started out 0-2, if we all remember. I don't think it's crazy to maybe say that the Ravens could be in a position if they were to lose this game against the Lions, let's say lose to Buffalo, and let's say lose to Kansas City, find themselves in a spot where they're 1-3, and people are like, oh no, the sky's falling again in Baltimore. And then of course they start to make adjustments and turn things around. But Baltimore's set up again to be in a spot where they might be off to a little bit of a slow start. And last year they had that really bad loss to the
Vegas.
Raiders.
Yeah.
Could that be the Cleveland game this year where they lose on the road week 1 and then lose a bad home game week 2? Maybe. If that's the case, then they could be looking for their first win. It could be a big spot for them where you can't up to 0-3. And as for the Lions, them as well, they get 2 AFC North games to open up. Then they get Baltimore. So that's a game that I'm certainly looking forward to early in the year. Prime time spot. See a lot of Baltimore early in the season on prime time. Right.
Yeah, I was about to go right off of that. I mean, I'll go 2-1 here. Obviously, we talked about it earlier, but Dallas opening up in Philly on the Thursday for the ring ceremony. And yeah, thank you to Goodell and the NFL for giving us Bills Ravens on that that Sunday night. I mean, that is one of the ones. I don't know. It's almost like these two teams play, and you can also throw the Chiefs in there. But it's that Breeze and Manning, Brady and Manning, Roethlisberger and Manning, those kind of vibes to those games. Obviously, better offense is a lot more explosive, of course. But yeah, I'm really excited for that Bills Ravens one. I think potential. We could be talking about potential conference game. I like that one. I like that one. I think the Ravens handle their business this time, though. But yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely like week 1 starting it out. Ravens back in Orchard Park, trying to revenge their playoff loss from last year. Certainly a fun game. And again, that's anytime you can get these Super Bowl potential previews or AFC division round, AFC title game preview early in the season like that, even late in the season, anytime you can get 2 MVP candidates year in and year out, and Josh Allen and Lamar, like you said, all the think back to all these quarterbacks, all those battles. Anytime you can get that, it's awesome. So I agree. This is kind of an under the radar one. Just going through my list here. Week 4 doubleheader. The Jets will play the Dolphins, but Bengals Broncos. That's a fun one in my opinion. Kind of 2 opposite teams. You have a Broncos team that's elite defense. You have an elite defense against a really good offense. And then not an elite offense, but a good offense in Denver going up against who knows what the heck since he's going to look like this year on defense. You got the whole Trey Hendrickson drama still going on, so who knows? But this has potential to be a lot of fun, shootout, mile high. This one could be a track meet. It's always fun anytime you get the chess and checkers between cat and mouse game between a really good offense and a really good defense. So, and for Denver, look, they were kind of the underdog last year. Now they've got a little bit of pressure on them to prove that last year, same thing with Bo Nix, prove that last year was not just a 1 year, 10-win season. They've got to step it up a bit. Teams around them in the division continue to get better. A team like Cincinnati, everybody expects to be right back in the mix. From a Denver perspective, this could be a game that has some playoff implications, assuming, let's say, Baltimore, KC take the division. These two teams could be battling it out for wild card position. So early in the year, another game I like here. Kind of under the radar, not as flashy as the Baltimore, Detroit, or whatever, but still, I think a good AFC showdown on prime time.
I mean, the Broncos, they, kind of similar to Commanders, where us looking at it going in last off season, looking at the 24-25 season, we're just like, neither one of these teams are going to be worth watching. Why would I want to watch the Commanders? Why would I want to watch the Broncos? And look where we're at right now, where I would actually be excited on a Sunday, a Monday, even a Thursday to come home, turn my TV on, and watch Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos play whoever they're playing. Quite the time. Just wrap up my two here. I'm gonna tie them in together. I know it's gonna be biased, but I'm gonna go Cowboys Packers. Not gonna talk much on it again. They meet week 4 Sunday night. We usually know how those games go. Green Bay has owned Dallas since I can remember, probably since I was born. And then I'm gonna also go Eagles Packers, who opened up in Brazil last season. But just both of these two games, I mean, these are matchups. Hopefully not Dallas and Green Bay. I'm tired of seeing them in the playoffs, but two matchups that we could see come playoff time, and most likely will see come playoff time. And it's not even from the Cowboys and the Eagles kind of angle of it. It's Green Bay. And you mentioned it earlier, you talked about it, about their slow starts. And for them, I mean, you get Dallas week 4. That is that slow start period. And kind of how things have shaped up for them, starting off so terribly. You lose to Dallas, they kind of heat up into the season. You get Philly week 10. How would Green Bay look throughout the course of the season? So that's kind of what I'm excited for. I mean, just to see Green Bay on prime time. They are the team to watch. We already know what to expect from the Lions. We think the Bears are going to be better. Minnesota's kind of untalked about, but right now it's kind of still like, hey, Detroit out in the division. Everyone else kind of whoever. If they're good, they're good. Whatever the case is, I feel like Green Bay's been a team that under like Matt LaFleur has been so good for quite some time and consistent. They're just not talked about enough. So I'm kind of excited to see what Jordan Love is going to do, what this Green Bay team is going to do with the addition of Matthew Golden, of course, and see if that offense takes another step. So I hate the Packers, but they are a fun team to watch, and the offense is rolling.
Yeah, definitely. I'll throw another one out there. Week 6, Chiefs, Lions, another game, potential Super Bowl preview. Should have been the Super Bowl 2 years ago if Dan Campbell never went for it on 4th down every single time they hit 4th down, or if Josh Reynolds caught the football, right? I believe that was Josh Reynolds, right? That had that drop, I think, in that game. Now current Jet. So hopefully we don't get a costly drop this year, although I'm sure there will be a good amount of costly drops from him and Alan Lazard. If Lazard's even still on the team, hopefully not, but we'll see. I'll also throw this one out there, talking about Green Bay. Not a prime game. It is the 4:00 game, and it probably will be like the
game of the week.
Game of the week, 4:00 game. Week 6, Cincy, Green Bay. Another fun one in Lambeau. Potential shootout, Jordan Love. That's coming off of their bye week, right? You mentioned the slow starts. Could that be 2-2, let's say, coming out of that bye week? Or even 1-3 if they lose to Detroit, Washington, and Dallas, but beat Cleveland? Could that be the point in the season there for Green Bay where they need to pick up a win against a Cincinnati team at home coming off their early season bye? That could be a early, not a must win, but that could be like an early can't lose for Green Bay against a really good team. So that'll certainly be one that I'm liking. Not on prime time, but yeah, like you mentioned, game of the week, 4 o'clock window. So certainly that one. But yeah, NFC North, there's so many. There's gonna be a lot of good games just coming out of that division, especially if the Bears turn things around and they're good. Like if the Bears are good and they have like a Minnesota Vikings type of jump, I mean, maybe not so much 14-3, but just have a very good season. That division is going to be so much fun to watch week in and week out, especially when they play each other. So I'm trying to look through here. I'm trying to find the worst Thursday night games. Surprisingly, the Thursday night games are not terrible. I unfortunately might have to put the Jets there and say week 11 Patriots maybe has potential, at least on paper, will be the least looked forward to Thursday night game. But like I can't find, every year we always get those bad Thursday night games. I mean, I think Dolphins Bills is going to be pretty bad.
Yeah, that's going to be quite the blowout.
Yeah, but I can't find Atlanta Tampa. That's a gross one.
Let's see.
That's probably going to be pretty ugly. NFC South teams on Thursday night. That's not great. I can't find any. There's like none of them that are like, usually it's like Saints Panthers. You know, that'll be.
Yeah, I'm not seeing one. We get some pretty good ones. I mean, the only one that might be terrible is, Philly and Giants. That's a blowout.
Yeah. At least you get Philly though. Yeah,
Jets, Patriots.
Jets Patriots is probably going to be the ugliest.
That's probably it. I mean, yeah. The rest of them aren't too bad.
The Jets win that game and it's 6-3. I couldn't care less. So, no, I mean, Cincy, Pittsburgh, little AFC North showdown, week 7. Hey, I got a question. You think too many people, maybe myself included, are just writing the Vikings as if they're just going to be good again this year without acknowledging that JJ McCarthy is kind of a complete question mark? Because and I've done this as well. I've kind of been thinking about this. You go through the entire schedule and you look at the Vikings and everybody has them as a really difficult team. But do we not? We don't. Nobody really like JJ McCarthy. What if he just stinks?
Yeah, it's hard to say. Because honestly, with the Vikings, you look at how good they were last year, and the roster is basically the same, and they have the weapons to the point. It's just like, hey, Jefferson's down there somewhere, Addison's down there somewhere, Hawkins is down there somewhere. It's like you can't be bad with those weapons, but depending on McCarthy, they could be pretty bad. We've seen how well their defense, improved, which is usually their Achilles heel, but defense has gotten better. They showed that last year. So for the Vikings, I mean, I expect them to be decent. They're not winning 14 games. I mean, I haven't looked at Minnesota's schedule, but I'm assuming like there's no way they lose more than 8 games, so maybe 9-8. But then again, we haven't seen JJ. We don't know what JJ is going to look like. But with those weapons, I mean, there's no way they're just tremendously worse than what they were last year. Which, let me rephrase that. Not saying they were bad last year, but again, they're not. I'm saying I don't think they win 14 last year and so bad to the point where they win 5 this year.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's McCarthy can just game manage. I think you're in a good spot. But we took a lot of people, myself included. We saw that one throw against the Raiders in preseason, and I think everyone's just anointing him that he's going to step right in. They're going to win like 12 games again. And they'll be right back in the mix. But if the Bears are better and the Lions and Packers continue to do their thing, I mean, who knows what could happen in that division. So anyway, I guess we can dive into some difficult schedules now. Weak schedules, favorable schedules, whatever you want to call it. Now, we got to start with the Giants. This is a gauntlet. This is just a gauntlet. Washington, Dallas on the road to open up. Kansas City, Chargers, Saints, Eagles, Denver, Philly. San Fran, Chicago, Green Bay, Lions, Patriots, exhale, bye week. Washington, Minnesota, Raiders, Dallas. I'm just sorry, Giants fans. That is a gauntlet. I will
They
say this.
have the potential to go 0-17.
They would be the best 0-17 team. Because I don't even think it's the fact that the Giants are just that bad. I just think their schedule is that difficult. It's just so difficult for them. I'm going to throw this out there. Jackson Dart, week 5 against the Saints. We could see him as early as that, honestly, because they might be 0-4. And if you're 0-4 at that point, that would be a soft landing spot for him against what should be a terrible Saints team. And now it is before a short week in Philly, so you're asking a lot for a guy to make his debut, then 4 days later play against the Eagles. But
I don't want to say might be 0-4. I want to say will be 0-4, but they will find a way to prove me wrong and beat Dallas. But the schedule makers are, hey, we're going to give you Washington to open up 1 o'clock. Great. Then after that, you're going to go right to Dallas, have fun in Jerry's World. You know how Jerry's World get. And after Jerry's World, how about you just go play Kansas City on a Sunday night and then play the Chargers the week after that? That is absolutely brutal. That is terrible.
It's awful. The only game I could see would be like maybe they beat the Chargers, but at that point you're already 0-3. That would be like the game they would win to get to 1-3. But there's this Giants fan that I follow on Twitter, and he made a great point. The Giants fan might walk out of the building on that Sunday game against the Chiefs. Sunday Night Football, by the way. Their first home game. There's a chance they walk out of their first home game 0-3, season's already over. Yeah. I mean, that's the sad reality. Because Washington and Dallas is brutal. It's tough.
I just looking at the 3, I don't think they keep any of those games close. They don't have the firepower offensively to keep up with any of those 3. I don't know how well the Giants defense is going to look. They didn't look that great last year. They did play Dallas pretty tough, I think, last Thursday of last year. I could be wrong. They played Dallas pretty tough. That game kind of came down to the wire. But you just look at those 3 offenses, even the Chargers offense in week 4, and what those offenses were able to accomplish last year, not Dallas so much, but the Dallas offense that we are used to seeing, how well those 4 offenses have kind of functioned, Washington obviously being newer. I mean, the Giants have to score 48 points to be able to pull out a win to beat one of those 4 teams, and that's just not happening.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's a brutal stretch. And it's brutal when you're probably talking about your most realistic win that first 4 games probably being the Chargers, because that's not even that realistic. But let's just go through the list here. The only team on their schedule that they're actually probably better than is Saints. That's probably it, right? I mean, they're not.
That's it.
Maybe New England, but probably not. And even that, though, that's a road game Monday night. That's after coming back from Detroit. So, nothing too major there. Playing, God, they got to go. They have 3 NFC North games in a row. You have Green Bay, Detroit, or Chicago, Green Bay, Detroit. That's Jackson Dart might.
My goodness.
There is going to be some elite memes. I don't even know.
I mean, even before that stretch. So after you get New Orleans, just say you come out with a win, is great. So it's like, hey, we're going to give you Philly on a short week. Then we're going to take you out to the highest altitude in the world the week after that.
And then come back and play Philly on the road. It's like, what were the schedule makers have something against the Giants? I mean, who in the world does that? There's not much more difficult stretches that you could think of. Philly short week, right? And the vibes will be high. They'll beat New Orleans. Vibes will be high for 4 days. Then they'll get smoked against Philly in their own building. then yeah, high altitude cross country trip just to come back to go on the road against Philly. I mean, that is, and then your next home game,
Yeah.
San Fran. I mean,
San
it's
Fran, Chicago, Green Bay, Detroit.
brutal. Absolutely brutal. Brutal. And then Chicago, Green Bay, Detroit, New England. They might have one win by the bye week. They might be 1-12.
Yeah, there's a good chance. And again, the dumb thing would be beat Dallas and lose to the Saints. I could see it happening.
Yeah.
And oh my, that is not a world I want to live in. If that,
Yeah.
the 1-12 New York Football Giants has beat Dallas and lost to the Saints and are 1-12.
Yeah. And look, the Giants did start 2-3 last year. They weren't like, it's not like they started 0-8 last year. I think a lot of people look at the Giants, see 3 wins, and think that they started 0-8. No, they were 2-3. And after each of their wins, they beat Cleveland, came back, had that Dallas game on Thursday, which they lost. And then they beat Seattle on the road, which was an upset, came back, had Cincy at home, they lost. So the Giants had 2 chances after both of their wins early last season to come back and win a game at home. So, like you said, maybe there is a reality here where the Giants like pull off a surprise, because I think that Cleveland win was kind of a surprise for the Giants just because of how bad it started, where they were 0-2 going into that game. Like maybe they do surprise everybody and beat Dallas on the road and are 1-1, and then or surprise everybody, beat the Chargers, then beat the Saints back to back, and they're 2-3 just for their season to then collapse. Like that would be a giant thing to do.
It's a pure purge after there. After that Saints game in week 5, just straight purge of what that schedule is for the Giants.
Yeah, it's brutal. I mean, there's not a harder schedule out there in my eyes, especially for a team like them, right? There's some good teams that have difficult matchups. We just ran through with the Ravens, right? They start the season with some difficult games. Like they've got Buffalo in their first 6 weeks. They face Buffalo, Cleveland, Detroit, KC, Houston, the Rams. Those are very difficult games. But you're also talking about a team like the Ravens who can go toe-to-toe with each of those teams. Each of those teams can also go toe-to-toe with the Ravens. Giants, on the other hand, they're not even in the ballpark of Washington. They're not even near Dallas. They're not even near Kansas City. They're not even near the Chargers. There's not even a guarantee that Tyler Shook and the Saints are better than them. I think the Giants are better than the Saints, but hey, it's early season Saints.
You never know.
No. Yeah, you never know. And the Saints early on here, watch out. Tyler Shook has a Derek Carr legacy game. Like,
luckily they didn't get him week 2.
Yeah.
It was week 2, maybe. Yeah.
Got him week 2. So it'll be what, 49ers 47 like 10 Saints over the Rams.
Something like that.
Except this time they're at home. So
yeah,
if they're on the road, could definitely see it, but they're at home instead. All right. Any schedule that you looked at that like you view as pretty favorable?
Definitely the 49ers.
Yeah. I was gonna I thought you were gonna say that one as well, which I think was a perfect segue into what we were gonna talk about. Anyway.
I mean, let me just, get a quick brief pull up again here. Because off the top of my head,
is very favorable. Other than the Saints week 2, right?
I mean, come on now. Obviously that division's not tough at all. We don't know what Seattle's going to be. We don't know what the Rams are going to be.
Yeah.
Arizona plays them pretty tough. But outside of, a road game against Tampa, which we don't know what Tampa's going to be, even though I still think they're going to be good. Road game against Tampa, road game against Houston. Who on that schedule? Like, realistically, they're not going to sweep the division. We know that. But who on that schedule do we really think stands, will kind of keep the Niners from getting to what they were before this previous season? I mean, looking at this schedule, if they win every game that they realistically should win, the only 2 teams that they can go 14-3. If we're being honest, you lose to Tampa, you lose to Houston, you split with the Rams. Nobody else on the schedule should probably beat the 49ers, if given how good the Niners can be.
Yeah, I agree. I view the Niners schedule. They have a couple good teams, but they don't face any like great teams.
Elite. Yeah.
Like they don't have Detroit on their schedule. Even some of the best AFC team they'll face is what? Houston. Like it's not like they got to face KC. They don't have to face Baltimore. They don't have to face Buffalo. They don't have to face Philly. Like they don't have to face any of the top teams. Their best team they probably face is Houston, right?
Houston, or this could be a hot take. Chicago could be their best team they play in Week 17, depending on how good Chicago might possibly be. But again, they always split with the Rams, and the Rams are tough. But you look at the Rams and you look at Tampa, two teams that limped last year into the postseason. They don't have anyone good on that schedule, seriously.
Yeah. I guess Tampa, like outside of Houston, like that early slate, Tampa on the road would maybe be like the toughest. I mean, they, like you said, the Chargers, they always split that, or they're not the Chargers, the Rams, that is a short week. Tampa, you did mention like they do limp. So if there was a time to get Tampa, it would probably be, well, I mean, last year they kind of started what's a little bit slower than picked it up as the season went on. But yeah, like they don't face, just in general, I mean, your toughest early season stretches, back-to-back games against the Rams and then the Bucks, which you mentioned they always split with LA, and the Bucks aren't like this some unbeatable juggernaut. They're good, but for a team like San Francisco, if San Francisco's healthy and playing up to their standards, they should beat them. Like they're better than them. You know, it's one thing to look at Tampa from like a objective, like we were earlier, where the Tampa is definitely the better team. But yeah, even like the first just couple games. I mean, they're two first road games. I know Seattle's a tough place to play, but you don't know what that team's going to. I mean, what are they going to look like without DK? Darnold, we got to see Darnold legitimately have this career resurgence for another year, another couple years. It's one thing to have one great year. You got to keep this up, like Baker Mayfield has been able to do, even Geno. New Orleans on the road, definitely winnable. Arizona, Jacksonville. I mean, they don't have to play great football to be 4-0. They don't. Even 3-1. Okay, maybe they lose to Seattle. But after that, they could be 3-1 playing football. So, and then, yeah, the Giants on the road, scary. Cleveland on the road, scary. Indy on the road, scary. Like, even some of these road games, like, they get Chicago at home. Of course, they split with LA. They do get Houston on the road. But even some of these road games, you're not that afraid of. So I agree.
Especially with majority of them coming, you know, even though they have a late bye, we're talking about week 14 bye, but you have one away game, you know, it's kind of the end of the year, and that's against the Colts, and probably, I think we both said it's probably gonna be Daniel Jones at that time, you know, taking snaps for the Colts and starting. So you get Daniel Jones or it could be Riley Leonard. Forgot about that one. On Monday night.
Yeah. And then the week before that, you get Tennessee. They backload your schedule with the dump of the AFC South.
Yeah.
Which is
something. You know, kind of off topic. I mean, I just feel like for the Colts this year, we both are not too high on Richardson. No. Daniel Jones is Daniel Jones. We have yet to see Riley Leonard. I kind of just feel like it gets to a point. Every week, it should just be like a ping pong tournament. Whoever wins it that week just gets to start, because they're all going to look the same with whoever's at quarterback. Just ping pong tournament it up.
I 100% agree. I think this season, I was going to mention this, I think this season's going to be one of these years. You know, those seasons where like multiple different quarterbacks, it's like all feels like a different quarterback every single week. Kind of what the Raiders have gone through the last couple of years. It feels like where one week it's been Minshew. Then it was, well, let me see. Then it was what, O'Connell?
O'Connell was in there.
Ritter played a week last year. I feel like that's what's going to happen with the Colts. Yeah. You look at the Raiders last year. It was like a couple weeks of Minshew, then O'Connell. Couple weeks of Minshew, then O'Connell. This year, I feel like with the Colts, it's going to be like Daniel Jones for 3 weeks, then Richardson for like 4, and then Jones for 2, then Richardson for like 3, then Riley Leonard for like 2. We're going to look back. They're going to win 5 games and have like Riley Leonard's going to start, let's say 5 games. Daniel Jones is going to start like 8 games and I don't know. Or maybe that, maybe what, 7, and like 4 or 3 from Riley Leonard, something like that. I just think it's going to be a revolving door. It really is. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe Anthony Richardson takes a step, but no guarantees under center week 1. So there's a chance they see Riley Leonard.
I think we will.
At that point, if they're a 4-win team, if they're a 4-win team, it doesn't hurt. Throw them out there. See what you have in them. You know? So, anyway. Any other thoughts on the NFL schedule? Niners as well, extending Brock Purdy, Fred Warner as well. So locking up 2 key pieces there. Yeah.
Something about Brock Purdy being the 6th highest paid quarterback. Well, tied 6th. I don't know how I feel about that, but looking at the numbers for him, his 2 years as a starter, 51 touchdowns, 23 picks, pretty decent. 4-2 in the playoffs. Good. Yeah, I guess you could say I don't even want to say that. We talked about Brock Purdy, and he just feels like he's in the most perfect situation. I think I've explained to my dad, yes, a perfect game manager, but I like to call him the Jason Tatum of the NFL. You are in the most perfect situation that you can possibly be in. Yep. You already got the keys. You were already, you were given a Ferrari. The only thing you got to do is keep it clean every 2 weeks. And that's what it feels like with Brock Purdy. You already had a great team, a bunch of talent, but at the other side, I look at it as like, hey, he could have stepped in with all that and done nothing with it. He has done something with it. Would I have given him $53 million a year? Probably not. But if you look at his numbers and you take away his name, Brock Purdy has played well enough to deserve his contract. This is contradicting. Yes, he has played well enough to deserve his contract, but I do not feel like he's worth $53 million. Then again, I watched Trevor Lawrence rob the entire city of Jacksonville. So props up to Brock Purdy, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, you make a good point. You can be given a Ferrari told to clean it every 2 weeks and crash it. So Purdy has not crashed it, right? He's kept it clean. He's done his job. Yeah, I think we both share pretty similar thoughts with Purdy. He's done well for the situation he's put in. He does his job. He's not elite. He's not gonna take the team to another level. He's gonna fit in. He's gonna do what he needs to do, and that's kind of it.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing too special, nothing too flashy. Which
when you have the highest paid running back and second highest paid tight end and one of the top highest paid wide receivers in football, and one of the best defenses that we've probably, consistently good defenses that we've seen in some time. I hope he put up some pretty good numbers and win some games. There's no way you mess that up, right? And again, he's done his job. So I guess all hater aside, props to Mr. Irrelevant. He's got a bag. Wasn't supposed to get a bag and got a bag.
Yeah, it's a great story. It is.
Definitely.
I guess the biggest thing is just like if he for the rest of time puts up 20 touchdowns, 12 picks a year, is that going to be good enough?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Or even 25 touchdowns. Like, is he ever be a 40 touchdown guy that just takes the team to another level? Probably not. So, Daniel Jones did get paid $40 million. So I guess it's all relative at the end, right?
That is true.
Now he's lucky if he wins the job over Riley Leonard.
Yeah.
So, Fred Warner's extension as well. Well deserving for Fred Warner. Talk about, just Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, and Fred Warner as well. Talk about 2 guys that were kind of, Fred Warner was a 3rd round pick, but I don't think a guy that anybody saw turning into this player. Like if 3rd round picks turn into Fred Warner, The guy's a stud. The
You
guy's a
draft
stud.
pretty well if that's the case.
Yeah, you do pretty well. He plays every single game. He's only missed one game his entire career. Is a workhorse. I mean, just you look at his numbers every single season. His lowest tackle season, 118. I mean, the guy is just a machine and consistent every single season. Top of the game since entering the league in 2018. He's a beast. To come in as a third-round pick and his play as well as he had is he's really one of the better linebackers of this era in a way.
Yeah.
Kind of, over the last once his time's up, he will go down as one of the better linebackers in this era and just in general. I mean, this is a guy he's a monster. 7 seasons in is a beast. Still only 28 as well, which is it's funny. Now you're getting guys come out of college at 26. Here's a guy in Fred Warner's been in the league 28. Tyler Shook's almost as old as he is.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a guy in Boston that's in like year 7 who's 27, or actually you think he's longer than year 7, who's just now 27 years of age. Yet this guy is a rookie in the NFL at 26.
Yeah,
just can't make this up.
We'll probably be working a 9 to 5 by 28.
Yeah, there's probably a good chance that guy might be working at who knows, some form of insurance, maybe a car salesman at Kia. Yeah.
Sorry here comes the Saints bashing again.
Yeah.
Did not mean to go down that road, but it's certainly possible. He'll be a used car salesman or Kia, like corporate or Hertz, something like that, like something
quite fitting.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway, another episode down. Any closing thoughts?
I know it's going to be a busy week for your area-ish, so hopefully we see you next week. If we don't see you next week, New York/Jersey is burnt down, kind of due to whatever the Knicks are doing. If we do see you next week, Jersey/New York still might be burnt down due to what the Knicks are doing. So other than that, we'll be back next week, and as usual, thanks for watching.
Might have to have a parade in the city because the Jets start OTAs. So watch out. City might burn down. Justin Fields is a good practice at OTAs.
Justin Fields good practice, and the Knicks in the finals. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Get ready. Yeah, no, the Knicks are in the finals. I will not be participating in the Knicks celebration. Instead, I will be masking in the Knicks depression, I guess, as a Nets fan who. And I don't want to, go down this whole road, but we tank all year to get the 8th overall pick. And the Mavericks, the biggest fraud setup I've ever seen. The NBA told the Mavericks, if you trade Luka, you'll get the number 1 pick. There is no doubt in my mind that they completely set that up. So it's all rigged. It's so rigged. They essentially traded Luka for Cooper Flag. Like, it's so rigged. So rigged.
Only thing I hate and I feel bad was Kyrie Irving reading that script of that ACL tear, but knowing he has to do it for the plot. Hate to see it.
Yeah.
Hate to see it.
And Cooper Flag will be a Laker in 6 years? So
yeah, about that.
And some 5th grader will be a Maverick.
Yep. Yeah, about that.
So
some 18-year-old.
Although who knows? Maybe some guy in college right now that just is going to be in college for the next 6 years will be a Maverick.
Yeah, that's true, because you can always just stay in college, rack up NIL money, and then hit the pros at 30. So
hit the pros at 30 and be washed up by 33. So
yeah, sounds about right.
That's where we're headed. The Tyler Shook route, as I like to call it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Enter the league at 25, exit at 28. So
quick and efficient.
Anyway, that'll do it. We'll be back next week. Hopefully, no craziness around the Knicks here. We'll see. 2 home games to start, so definitely highly likely that there is some eventful things that happen in New York because just how Knicks fans roll. So that'll do it. Talk to you next week.